Getting rich in and of itself is philanthropic. Without any charity work, without donating anything, just the act of you getting rich is an act of philanthropy because it is a reflection of the value you've created, the people you've employed, actual real world value that you've had to pump into the marketplace. Capitalism means stealing. No, literally socialism means that.
And the people who don't respect or understand that getting wealthy is about value creation will always criticize those who do.
That's a really good line.
Steve, tell us about your sweater.
It says, "Merry Christmas, you filthy socialist."
Steve.
It actually comes with a sneer. There's a sneer. When you put it on, it installs a sneer in your face. And a little bit of a squint eye.
Does it come with a bah humbug or a cha-ching?
Comes with a bah hog and cha-ching. It depends who's asking. And it depends on the reaction to the shirt.
Understood.
Yeah.
And Steve, where can people get this sweater?
Oh, my Lanta. By the beard of Zeus. WeThePigs.com.
Steve,
Like
where?
we the people.
Please explain more.
No, yeah, really. We made this sweater. We've been shipping these out, which is pretty hilarious. I think it's funny that we live in a time where you have to remind people that it's okay to be a capitalist. So we went as aggressive as you possibly can while still making friends and family not split apart at the Christmas dinner table.
Mm-hmm.
Merry Christmas, you filthy socialist. Even to you guys. Anyway, so we made the sweater. No, we made it, though, honestly. I have actually been really fascinated by how much when I wear swag, even in airports or in malls or wherever, like I go to a mall much, but, in public, how much your body is really the most important piece of real estate you have, right? And it's funny how we use it for messages, right? We're always sharing a message about ourselves. It's been a really huge conversation starter with people that are random. It's been interesting to see how many people raise their hand and say, "Ooh, that's me," or "Ooh, I hate you." In fact, there's a dude in a YMCA. I was just in the sauna. It was a while ago, but I wasn't even one of my extreme message shirts. And I did like a run or something there. I can't remember. Might have been swimming.
Sounds familiar.
And I went and I walked through the men's locker room and there was a dude there who saw me and he was bah humbugging and sneering at the same time.
Yeah.
There was a full out sneer and he sneered and I didn't quite catch it. And I went and I sat down in the sauna and was listening to a book. And this guy comes bolting in behind me and he goes, "Hey, how you doing?" I was like, "Good." So that shirt, I was like, I know, right? I thought he liked it.
Yeah.
He did not. And he's like, I'm here and we got to change some things. I was like, "I'm right with you, man. We got some stuff to change." And I wouldn't let him pigeonhole me. And there's another old dude sitting next to me, clothed, thankfully. PSA, not okay. So he was sitting next to me over there and he could tell faster than I could on the fact that this guy was trying to peg me down, but I was just, yeah, no, I totally agree. We got to change some laws here. Let's keep this. This is awesome. Let's keep values there. He's like, "Yeah, but we got to change for everybody though." And I was like, no. And he stormed out and the dude next to me looked at me and he's like, "That guy didn't like you." And I was like, "Yeah, I actually only picked up on that at the end." Anyway, and all it said was freedom fighter.
Oh, really?
How do you fight a shirt that says "I don't want more freedom"?
Yeah.
Blew me away. But that's what's been really fascinating is we live in a world where we're posting stuff and our thoughts are on these, electronic walls. It's how interesting to treat your own stuff like this. Very simple messaging that is very also pointed and aggressive. You find out really, really fast where people stand. And I'm not trying to trigger anybody by wearing stuff like this, but I'm also no longer going to apologize for what I think and believe. And how funny that we have to do that now. I think the Facebook like button has been the culprit of so much of that.
Oh, and it's so easy to hide behind a screen.
Yeah.
But then when you do come face to face with someone, you actually have the opportunity to disagree and communicate about it. And it's also okay to disagree. There was a guy picking me up here from the office one time, an Uber driver, and I texted the Uber driver when he was on his way saying, "Hey, we're, sweet, whatever." Above the office says "Pursuit of Profit." And he responded saying, "That sounds unethical, but okay." And I was like, "What? Pursuit of profit?" And I was like, and when I got into the Uber, he commented on it. And I said, "Sir, are you driving Uber for free? Do I have to pay for my
That's what you asked him,
ride
didn't
today?"
you? Yeah.
Yeah. And he goes, "No." And I was like, "So what are you doing?"
You mean it's for
Do
profit?
you mean that you are driving Uber for profit?
Oh.
So I think what the conversation is about is talking about what really is the mission of We the Pigs. And you have so eloquently, and maybe I would love for you to speak to this, of like, what is the download you got of what does it mean to redefine capitalism? And one of the shirts that is one of the best selling shirts and hats that we have is Get Rich, Give Back.
Yeah.
That it's not just get rich for greed and gains. There is a reason to this, that money is an amplifier.
Yeah.
And we want to attract a culture of good people who are going to do good with money. Can you speak to the mission?
One of my favorite examples of this was his mutual friend. Maybe I won't say his name, but he was standing on stage and he had two people come up. He said, I need two volunteers. And he was holding $1 and a water bottle. Right. And he just asked for $1 from someone from the audience and a water bottle from somebody, and then had two random people come up. And, or actually just one other person. So, and he goes, hey, I have this $1 and I'm really thirsty. You know, could I have that water bottle full of water? You know, I'd like it for, 50 cents. And the guy didn't really know what he was doing at first, but then he started playing along. He's like, well, actually, I actually don't value it. It's worth more to me than 50 cents to just have the security of water in the future. And what he started doing back and forth is so they ended up trading, right? He's like, I'm going to trade this $1. Let's act like it's not cash. I'm just going to trade this $1 for this water bottle. And then we swapped. Now, the guy that now has the $1 and the guy now has the water bottle, this is a new item to them. They actually value, this is a super key piece about capitalism. He said, the person that has the water bottle values the water bottle more than $1.
Exactly.
Right? And people might like, duh, but like really listen to what I'm about to say on this, which is that if we were now to combine the two values of those items, they actually went up. Right? Separately, without trade, without free commerce and without free trade, things are just $1 and things are just a water bottle. But when we say this is worth more to me than $1 and this is worth more to me than the water bottle, and we swap and now we compare them, both items actually raised in value. Right? And this is true even if there was no money involved at all. And if I was to take, I'm just some random thing, that little sparkling water I have over there and that little item's over there, and we swap, each of us is valuing it differently and more than our current item. And just the act of trade is actually wealth creation, money not even included. And it's a really fascinating thing to notice. And so part of why I get really, really spicy about capitalism is because I feel like what we're so bathed in today is this narrative that money is evil, and it's not. And I believe that my mission is to keep creators creating. That's it. It's like we stay out of socialism just like that. When we become socialists, we become victim mentality, and we say, please, our hand goes out rather than to work. Right? And my hand is saying it's open instead of working. My hand is saying, please feed me. I'm a victim of my circumstance. My circumstance is defining my future. But when we say to ourselves, I'm going to just be a creator of solutions to actual problems, which is all capitalism is, that's a beautiful thing. And I've noticed that individual gets a stronger connection with divinity. They get a stronger connection of themselves. I just watched a video of a guy recently who said, he was thanking another person, and he goes, because of what you created, I actually found out who I am. You created an environment where I got to figure out who I am. I can't remember who was, but it's interesting context. And you're like, wow, the pursuit of profit. That's why it's the pursuit of profit. I'm not saying profit. The pursuit of it is one of the most valuable journeys that I value and treasure in my life. And it's fun to watch other people go through that. So if we can just keep people making things, we win.
Pursuit, that it's not always the attainment. It's who you become on the way. That is priceless. These people that are growing in their spirituality, in their personal development, and then passing that down generations. I mean, that's the kind of generation that I want to build, that takes after, us, that is here to inhabit the earth after we're long gone, that they continue to keep creating on this earth instead of hoping for handouts and then being controlled by some power that be, instead of the connection with a spiritual co-creator, whatever they believe in, to create that value and give back.
It's so true. It's like you're really Like the next generation, I feel like the point is to help foster a mindset of creative problem solving, where it's like we no longer look at our constraints and our limitations as roadblocks, but rather as the map. And we look at them and we say, this is where I need to go, but I got this mountain in my way. And instead of going, oh my gosh, I got to go, I can't go anymore because there's a roadblock, I got this huge thing. It's actually like, well, how could I get around this mountain? Or how could I move the mountain? Or how could I get, how could I get the attainment thing without going through the mountain? And you start invoking a lot of, I believe, spiritual gifts that say, well, you know what? What if you did this? Or what if you did this? What if you did this? And you become a brain that's full of possibilities and hope. Like capitalism fosters hope. Socialism literally fosters handouts and a dead brain that cannot think for itself. It is literally the sheep brain. And so I get really, really spicy about this for that. So people will misunderstand, though, what I'm saying, and they go, "What are you saying? You're against socialism because you don't want to help people?" Like that's not the what are charities already asking for more of all the time? Money, right? Like you have to be for profit. You have to be 100%. So like, I would much rather have people build a for-profit organization than a non-profit, because people put this badge of honor, it's non-profit. I'm like, money just collapses time. You're just going to slow yourself down by not being for-profit. Like it, and I understand there's different, blah, blah, blah. But the point is like when we create something and we're doing it with the intention of solving a problem or just creating for the sake of the creation itself, we're actually already a capitalistic brain. So there's all these artists that will sit back and say, that I've talked with, and they'll be like, I just create my art for the sake of it. I'm like, you're already a capitalist and don't know it, and you're misunderstanding what capitalism is. It's just an exchange of value. And you could go literally choose to take water from the, with a bucket from the river each day. Or you could go to the person who's like, you know what? I bet I could figure out a way to pipe that crap to a house. Right? It's
and
like
finding the market that is thirsty.
Who's going to do, like, come on. Like, yeah. And it's funny. You'll see these straight up socialists I don't know where my phone is, but straight up get pissed, slamming you on social media. And you're like, you're a moron. The dude that created this was a capitalist. You're holding a capitalist thing. You're holding it like you are such a member of capitalism. Every single one of you're watching this right now and you're wondering if you're a capitalist. Like you're literally feasting off of the benefits of a capitalistic society.
You have a device and the internet access.
Yeah. And it's like where there's like this, I think of it like a car, and I was actually explaining this. I think it was to our girls a few days ago. I was like, capitalism is like a car, right? With no rules, no laws, no stoplights, no street lights, no turn signals, no headlights, no meters, no odometer. A car is actually an extremely dangerous object. But when there's the correct amount of limitations and there's the correct amount of, it's to my master when I was saying this, then a car becomes this wonderful tool from point A to point B. I couldn't walk the ways that we drive a lot, And so it's the same thing with a gun, with like a bullet. I was explaining this to the mastermind too. I was like, if you take apart a bullet and you light gunpowder, which I probably haven't done. I've done because I'm a nerd. And if you light gunpowder out of a bullet and just dump it on a table, it's really anticlimactic. It's like just this little just sizzles out. Really, really, it's annoying. But if you take it and you now put you just put a container around it and direction and focus, it becomes this very interesting, very, very interesting reaction that's very, very different from the norm. So that's why I'm so passionate on the capitalist thing.
And it's necessary to be disruptive about it. Because if you sugarcoat, we want to make more money and it's good for you to make more money because you can do good things with it, it doesn't reach the people in the way that it needs to be reached, because it does need to be disruptive. Disruptive doesn't have to mean offensive, but people are going to be offended no matter what. Yeah. You may as well be judged for doing something that you love and is profitable because of the utility of money, what it's going to be able to do for you. Like you said, like you be able to go faster, reach more people. Because also when people pay for something, they pay attention. When they are invested, they are then invested in an outcome. But if it's this victim mentality or waiting for a handout, how is that also growing their mind to be able to reach new levels of, think of Maslow's hierarchy, that you get out of just the survival mode. I think that socialism I learned so much from you. I will tell you that before I met you, I was, limited in my knowledge of this, but I feel like it allows people to keep being controlled. And look at how much we've learned in the last couple years that mainstream media really showed its cards, especially in the last recent election. The media definitely showed Kamala is going to win. And then you saw the map. Trump had better coverage than Verizon.
Yeah.
So mainstream media is saying this, but online journalism or the independent journalists are the ones that I trust more. And anyway, I'm going a little bit off topic here, but just to speak to, I think the people that are trying to control the people that maybe more swayed into this victim mentality or more swayed into socialism, they're keeping them there because when people do have control and power and purpose, and I think also connection with a higher power, they are, how am I finishing this sentence? They're invincible. And we would have such a different world.
It just is a problem-solving mentality at its soul. And, one of the coolest things in college was they had us study what would happen if you removed cash, money, currency, all of it from a society. And if we went back to literally a trade society where there was no medium for value of exchange. If I needed water from the river, but I didn't need the meat that person had over there, I couldn't trade anymore. Like you have to have something in the middle, right? Otherwise, you're directly always looking for an exact solution. So the beauty of a currency and monies is it allows a market to be able to have a middle ground where it's like, hey, you know what? I made something of value, and I'm going to go exchange some money for it because I'm not totally sure what I need yet, but I want to make sure that I start making sure that I can get what I need when I see it. You know what I mean? Otherwise, it's always an in-the-moment thing. And you look at societies and economies where the whole country there's not really a good handle on currency and monies and stuff. They tend to stay in poverty because each individual is literally trading for themselves and in the moment only ever. You can't build financial walls because there's no financial. You're not doing that. You're like always solving the problem that's in the moment. There was a guy that I was talking with about this a couple of years ago. I reached out to him and I said, we're entrepreneurs, we're business owners, like many people who watch this. I said to him, I had just written my first six-figure check to the IRS, right? And my business, which was, no one wants to pay taxes, but also was a symbol of how my business was crushing, and it was really exciting, and I had planned for it, so I knew it was coming, and all that stuff, and I also didn't know much about tax law and all that, but anyway, I called him, and I was like, dude, how do I legally, ethically not do that, right? And we started getting into that, different strategies and things like that. And this piece that I'm about to say, always just buckle up, Buttercup. All right, stick with me for just a little bit, and just be open to the fact that there's maybe things about money you don't understand, and maybe there's some false beliefs, clocking around in your noggin, right? So think about this. I said, how much money? Imagine whether if you're a business owner, tell us what you got down below. If you're whatever, we want to know. We want to know what you guys got. But for those of us who maybe you haven't, imagine you go out. You take the risk on of leaving your job. You take the risk on of building something. You don't totally know if there's a customer base, but you think there is. And then you get the first sale. And then you're like, wow, that's awesome. And then you realize really soon that the money that came in, that's not yours. It's the business's, right? And then you got to learn how to take money from it. And then, oh my gosh, you got to hire some team members because you can't handle the workload. And I asked him, how much do I need to be paying myself for all of this to be worth it compared to me just going back and working for somebody else? And without skipping a beat, he said, my rule of thumb is it should be twice what your 9-to-5 paid you, or like $500,000 a year. I was like, whoa. I had some money false beliefs I had to overcome. I was like, there's not a chance I need to get paid that much. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Where it's like, this is kind of before I was really owning the capitalist pig thing. I was owning it, but not that much.
Like so much money you don't know what to do with it?
It was just this, and I know that's not like, oh my gosh, a crazy amount, but this is probably about 6 years ago, and it hit me that was the first time it hit me. I was like, I still have some money false beliefs clacking around in the noggin on that. I'll make money, but then I'll give it all away when I die. You can hear people say that, and I'm like,
They try to justify.
you try to
their
justify
wealth.
getting rich, and it's like,
Yeah.
right? Which
So don't judge me.
yeah, so don't judge me. I'm gonna get. I've heard so many people in this very classroom say that where they're like, I'm gonna make money. I'm like, how much money do you want to make? Like, oh, I'm gonna go make just enough for the amount that I need, but no more, because I don't need that, right? And there's like this little bashful thing they're doing with their eyes, even they're like looking away.
Or they'll downplay their success, like, oh yeah, we made $1 million this year, but we had a lot in taxes, or we had to spend these things.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, we're doing our part. I volunteer a lot.
Yeah,
like
instead of just unapologetically.
You didn't just answer the
owning
question.
it.
You showed all your false belief cards. Yeah. I could see you're naked up there. You don't know how to, So the conversation continued though. So he's like, 2 times your 9 to 5 or $500,000 a year. And I was like, okay, wow. And then I was like, thank you so much for that. I appreciate that advice. That's great. That's just an interesting bar for me to hit. Now I can backwards plan my numbers, backwards plan how much my business really needs to make. But then he upped the ante. And this is actually the part I've been a little nervous to share. I never thought I was going to do this here. But think about just think about this, okay? He said, I took this so far that I actually had a meeting with my team, and I said to them, I did not leave my job, take on insurmountable risk, put my family at risk, and face these crazy odds to not pay myself $1 million a year. Help me get my $1 million a year. And then after that, freaky bonuses for everybody. My investments and my investment plans don't need more than that. And sure enough, some people did not like that, and they left the organization. And people go, I'm not there to line my boss's pockets. Then start your own business, Cupcake, because they're like, what's the other option? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's nothing else. And the thing that he really taught me in this, and the attitude towards it, which was very important, is he taught me that this is I'm so excited to see the reactions on what I say. Getting rich in and of itself is philanthropic. Without any charity work, without donating anything, without any of you volunteering, just the act of you getting rich is an act of philanthropy, because it is a reflection of the value you've created, the people you've employed, the amount of value, actual real world value that you've had to pump into the marketplace, right? For you to make $1 million, it means your business has to make way more than that, which means you have to sell way more than that, which means you have to solve way more than that. The trickle-down effect of what it actually takes for you to make $1 million is an act of philanthropy. So get rich on purpose, give back, but that doesn't mean give it away, right? You can if you want, but that's not the only thing it means. And what I found more and more is that when I say that to people, especially this happened last week in this room, just false beliefs just falling out of their eyeballs. Like, oh, and it becomes very apparent why someone does not have extra cash and funds in their life, because they're literally self-sabotaging. They believe that money's going to hurt them, and so they don't actually go try to get rich.
And the people who don't respect or understand that getting wealthy is about value creation will always criticize those who do.
That's a really good line.
Like, oh, they must have scammed people. Yes, there are unfortunately some people that have scammed people for a lot of money. But I also believe that they will, in some way, somehow always, get caught, or karma, or they'll end up paying for it. If you didn't actually earn it in some way, it will be taken from you. I believe that.
Yeah, I completely believe that.
But what an example to just be in an environment and to let down those guards, those criticisms, to go, wait a minute, what can I learn from these self-judgments that are coming up, where I want to look at someone and go, who do they think they are? Wait a minute, who do I think that I am? If I am a human being put on this earth, it must be for a reason. Hopefully they believe in a higher power that tells them, like, there is something that you are here to do. And whether that is make a lot of money, build a business, raise your family right, you are doing something to create value, whether you are raising capital or raising people, I think.
It's just this fun game we get to play before we check out, in my opinion.
So it's a game. It's a fun game. And I think that we are the chess pieces in who we get to become throughout it all. Yeah.
Yeah. There's nothing more fun for me than watching somebody, like when you and I teach on stage, and you watch that moment. I built this place because of this exact feeling. It's when you're standing on stage and you drop something on them that's super simple. It's a truth, but it shifts the furniture in their head. And for a moment, it's so cool. You'll watch it. They'll leave the room emotionally.
Yeah.
It's like their psyche disappears for a second. Come right, and then they like visit the future with this new insight. And they're like, wait, I could, or what if I, or I see that we could, and they start seeing possibility. And then they snap back to the present, and I'm like looking at them still. I'm like, gotcha.
Yeah.
You're never gonna be the same. Like you're always gonna look at this differently. And just watching that is the coolest feeling on the planet. Where someone starts to gain ownership, self-ownership. It's not that you have to do the journey on your own. You should never try, right? But like just the pursuit of it and the self-discovery that comes from it. Understanding what your passion is. Most people don't want to work a 9 to 5 every day where you just clock in, clock out, 45 years go by, and then suddenly and that's why I like that this is a cooler path if you don't want that. And if you do want that, there's no harm in that either. That's great. Some people want that. It's awesome.
You can also be a capitalist in a 9 to 5.
Yeah, you can be capitalist in 9 to 5. Capitalism also is not a right-wing or left-wing approach either.
Yes.
And this is one of the most important things to understand about capitalism. I have tons of left friends that are capitalists. It's not a political stance. It's an economic stance. And it's one of the biggest things people don't understand about it. They're like, you got to be right to be capitalist. I'm like, no, right? In fact, if you want proof that the left are capitalists, look at how much their wallets are now 4 years later. Mm-hmm. What have they been stealing? Right? It's like capitalism, right? So it's just like, again, it's like goes back to this car thing. It's like it's a tool for good or bad. It's an inanimate object. That's all. It's an inanimate object that has zero say in itself, has zero power in itself. And this is a conversation between an object that has agency, us, and an inanimate object that is just waiting for us to act on it. It's capitalism, which is nothing more than value-based problem solving. That's it. How can someone fight that? I don't get why it's such a bad deal. And then people are like, we got to go help others. Who do you think are the people that do that? The people who have profit.
And God doesn't want you to be poor. It's not noble to be poor.
Humble doesn't mean poor.
Right.
I think people just don't understand that, and they think that it literally means that. Like, oh, I just chose the path of being humble. Like, actually, the choice of being poor on purpose, I actually think is actually an extremely prideful thing. Right? How much can I go help friends and family, which I've done, if I literally can't feed myself and my own family?
Right.
The way that I show up, and I'm not saying just like flush with cash, but even if you can't even meet your own needs, I mean, you rob yourself of experiences. You rob yourself of being present because you're constantly not present. You're worrying about where you're going to go and how to make cash. And I love telling people, if you really think money is evil, you've never been poor enough to understand its benefits of being rich, or you've literally never been to an actual poverty-stricken country.
Wow.
And until you have, you can't sit in a first world country and tell me that money's evil. You're literally a benefit of it. It's like, shut up. Right? Drives me nuts. It's like, you're so blessed.
The fact that anyone that is hearing or watching this has access to be able to view this on some kind of a screen or device and have access to an internet connection, you are already in the 1%.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I found some stats out on this. To be a 1% earner, and this is based on pre-scamdemic numbers, so.
What?
Yeah. So pre-pandemic, you had to be making, the bottom of the 1% takes home $240,000 a year. That's it. It's funny, we go, 1% are these billionaires. 1% is a lot lower than you think it is.
Yeah.
The bottom floor to be a 1% earner in your life is actually $240,000 a year. The average 1%er takes home $1 million, but the bottom floor of it is still just under about $250,000. So people are a little more close to the 1% than they think they are. There was some stat I heard also where like if you even have a second pair of shoes, like you are already like. Anyway.
Uh-oh, don't look at my closet.
But that's the point, though, right? And we can feel guilty about it, or we can take what the blessings are that are given to us and move forward, not to quote Spider-Man, but, right, with great power comes great responsibility. And it's true, right? I do believe that we are placed in environments that are meant to grow us, and especially our souls. And there's just like all things, a good form of capitalism, and there's a bad way to use capitalism, but it's not the thing itself, right? It's like calling food bad. It's like, well, there's good food, there's bad food, right? There's a good car and there's a bad car. It itself is inanimate. It doesn't make decisions on its own. So yeah, that was a long rant around this though. But yeah, Merry Christmas, you filthy socialists. I'll even throw love back to all the socialists that watch this, who just usually, if they don't get it, they usually just aren't educated enough. And I know that pisses them off to hear it, but they just don't think about it. They don't understand what capitalism is, and they don't understand why it is not a perfect system, but it is. Socialism is shown to literally be the gateway drug into communism, which is the other reason why I fight it so much. I know I'm ranting hard, but I got one more thing on this.
Right.
Adam Smith was the father of capitalism, right? He was the one that wrote the book Wealth of Nations, and he was actually the person he was the first guy to come out and really say that value is based in the eyes of the end user, not the creator. Now, he's not talking about art, right? We make art for us. We make art to, right? He's not talking about that at all. That's value. That's soul food, right? I'm artsy. But he's talking about in an economic standpoint, and I like to use the example of shovels. Like 1700s, Adam Smith writes Wealth of Nations, and he does it to help nations understand literally the patterns and what causes nations to be wealthy. And that's why he writes it. And it became this roadmap for nations. And what people started realizing is that just because it takes me to make a shovel, or it takes 5 days for me to make a shovel, and it takes that guy over there 1 day to make a shovel, what they were doing back then is they're saying, well, it took me 5 days to make the shovel, therefore I'm going to charge you more. And Adam Smith was like, it's the same shovel. Let's pretend it's the exact same shovel. Someone's like, I need a shovel. I got to dig a hole or whatever. The person who comes forward and says, I can make the exact same shovel in 1 day, value is in the eyes of the end user. Well, back then, the mindset was not the way it is now, right? Now we'd be like, well, who cares? Like, I just care because I'm the one that's going to be using it. Back then, 1700s, he's like, value is in the eyes of the end user. If it takes you longer to do something at the exact same quality as the next person, that's not more valuable, right? That's not more valuable.
The opposite. We will fire people if they are not efficient with their time.
Yeah. So even Einstein says, right, that, I'm going to misquote it, but capitalism has brought with it massive advancements, not just economically, but in knowledge. Mm-hmm. And this is one of the reasons capitalism fosters knowledge, is that we are constantly trimming the fat. Okay, you know what? How do we actually make the shovel in just 4 days instead of 5? And so knowledge increases and efficiency increases and how to solve cool problems increases. You think about how much free time we really have right now. I open the fridge. We don't have horse
and buggies anymore.
Right. I open the fridge for food. I do this for water. There's plumbing. We have a ton of free time compared to even just 300 years ago as a humanity. And it's a lot of it and part of this capitalism.
I throw my clothes into a machine instead of go down to the river with a board.
It's crazy. I mean, really, if you got down to it, like just the basics of living, not even having to go to work, like think of and reflect on like what a Saturday or Sunday might be. You might be busy, but you're not busy fighting for just the basics of humanity to just live. Right? Which is, everyone was a farmer because you had to be, right? So what was cool about what Adam Smith did is he redefined literally the word value and came forward and said, and so I went on like this 3-month kick because I'm a nerd about what value is. And value quite literally means utility. Value is basically synonymous with the word utility. And utility, you could just say, is usefulness, right? So I'm going to come in and make things that are valuable, meaning useful. It's useful for an audience or a group of humanity to laugh. So notice comedy didn't die during this pandemic, right? It's useful so when someone says I don't like capitalism also, they're also not understanding what value is. And they think value means handout. I'm being useful in any way that word means, and I'm still being a capitalist. It's such a beautiful way to think about it, and it reframes the way we need to go think about capitalism. So I know I'm totally soapboxing,
this
but
is fantastic.
I actually this is right when like AI started really exploding in terms of the public use of it. I took the book Wealth of Nations and we loaded it into AI. It's like 6 years ago. I loaded it into AI and I interviewed it. And I said, Adam Smith, I'd like to interview you on capitalism. And it talked back and forth to me. And so we loaded all these works up from Adam Smith, Father Capitalism, all this. And I was like, I want to interview you. Or it wasn't 6 years ago.
I was
Time
gonna
gets
say,
messed up.
what-
This is more like 3 years ago. Sorry. And time's messed up. I was like, Adam Smith, could you please help me understand the benefits of capitalism and, in fairness, the benefits of socialism? And sure, you could argue that he's biased. He wrote the book Wealth of Nations, but he argues the points really, really well. And I got to a certain question when interviewing AI Adam Smith, where I said, Adam, is the opposite of capitalism socialism? Like, we're always saying capitalism versus socialism. Is that actually an accurate thing? If it is, great. If it's not, great. Just, I need to know, is the opposite of capitalism socialism? And immediately it was like, no. The opposite of capitalism is not socialism. The opposite of capitalism is I'm going to mess up what it said a little bit. It's not socialism. The opposite of capitalism is people not owning things. It's literally the lack of ownership in the true sense. So whether that's the deed to your house or owning the fact that you have a problem to solve in your life. Socialism is going around and saying somebody else owns all the stuff, right? And they're going to divvy it out equally. Communism is where one person owns everything and they hand out what they want to, right? It's China, right? Or there's a lot of like that's what literally communism. Socialism is where we say, "Oh, you know what? I like that bike." And we're all over here deciding that your bike should be mine. That's communism, or that's socialism. That's what that means, right? And it's been interesting to see over the last like 50 years how this media has been used to spin the definitions a little bit of what capitalism means, because people think it means stealing, but it's actually the opposite of what stealing is. It's ownership. It's the ability to own in an actual literal sense. The fact that I can say, no, that's my bike. I bought that bike's mine, and I have the deed for it, and there's laws to protect the fact that that bike is mine. A democracy is the other part that people are messing up with it. Is they're thinking a democracy and a republic are not the same thing, and to the republic for which it stands. Republic is the other part that protects the fact that Jimmy can own the bike and people can't vote away. A democracy is also not the other thing that we want. A democracy literally is so much power to the people that we act like the three branches of government are not there, and we can go, hey, so you say that's your bike? Well, we're going to decide if that's true over here because we're a democracy. Let's go over here and we're going to vote. Is that Jimmy's bike? And the population goes, that is not Jimmy's bike. And then suddenly Jimmy doesn't own a bike anymore. That's democracy. I want a republic, not a democracy. I want a republic, capitalistic, free market economy. Those are different aspects, and it's very interesting to watch what's happening over the last little bit where the media is absolutely spinning the terms on what these things mean. Capitalism means stealing. No, literally socialism means that, right? I'm going to take Jimmy's bike just because I want to and because everyone owns everything. There's no division of ownership in socialism. And capitalism, exactly the opposite, right? So, and that's why Adam Smith argued these points so hard on saying, look, to be a capitalist means to own a thing it's yours. I could just come take your car if you're a socialist, and you shouldn't fight me about it because you're a socialist. Give me your house, right? Communism just means the government is saying that now, right? And that's why the next shirt I want to put out is the one that says, list of successful socialist countries on the back. And there's no country. There's nothing on the back. There's every single socialist country has been a failed country. They either go bankrupt or they have to start dealing on handouts and charity because they can't fend for themselves anymore. So I know I'm ramping really hard on this, but I am so pro capitalism that I feel like to redefine capitalism, funny enough, has actually been more of an act of defining capitalism. It's not a redefining, it's a defining, and it's a defining of what socialism is, and it's a defining of what it means to just be a good human being, whereas a capitalist, I can look at someone and say, oh my gosh, you are a masseuse, and you literally massage people, and you actually have to have a root canal, surprisingly, and you're in so much pain you can't work anymore, and your husband is a total schmuck. It's a real scenario that happened. And we went out and we paid for this woman's root canal without her knowing.
Wow.
We found out where a dentist, we called and we paid us $1,700. She couldn't handle that, right? That's tough in a socialist society. It's free healthcare. How good is free? I would so much rather pay for my healthcare. Don't you dare make my healthcare free, right? Tell me every doctor is incentivized the same when everyone is getting paid the exact same. Why would you have incentive to be good? Destroys competition, right? So anyway, I'm soapboxing real hard, but yeah, if you're any form of capitalist or you're trying to figure out what it means to be a capitalist, wearepigs.com has the stuff.
WeThePigs.com.
Sorry, We Are Pigs, We the Pigs says like we the people. We the people. So anyway, yeah, I've been ranting hard.
This is your topic, and I really wanted you to speak to it, especially with the Capitalist Pig brand, WeThePigs.com. This is something that we brought back to life. I mean, this was like a huge part of your brand for many years, and because it's such important, loud, existing noise that you were able to contribute to, I think that's what made the brand take off so much. And it was a couple months ago that Steve said, I want to bring it back and bring it back big. And it was like 24 hours later, we had just the right things fall into place, which I think also speaks to the alignment of just how important and necessary it is. And that when we are in alignment, just things fall into place as they did. I mean, it was 24 hours later, and now the store is up, and go to WeThePigs.com. Yeah,
it's a cool topic. Probably the biggest piece of feedback I get from people is just confusion.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad that we've done this. When I wear the shirt, a third of the people love it, a third of the people hate it, and a third can't decide because they don't get it.
Right.
And they're like, pig. And they don't realize that capitalist pig came from the book Animal Farm. Like, I didn't make it up, right? It's a widespread name. Capitalist pig. The pigs, Animal Farm, a really good book. Some countries are trying to get rid of it right now. But it actually, and other books from that author, and those types of books, it's a book that describes, it takes a farm and it takes all the animals in the farm and uses the different animals in the farm to describe the different economic engines in countries. And so the socialists were the sheep because and this is in the book, I'm not making this up. The socialists were the sheep because they could not think for themselves. Herd mentality, right? And it's so funny when people will be like, I'm left because I'm a free thinker. I'm like, cool, just don't confuse that with, you can be left and a capitalist. That's nothing to do with that, right? In fact, capitalism celebrates that. The pigs were the capitalists because pigs are notoriously very, very smart. They're the smartest animal on the farm. They're problem solving. They can do a little bit more. They think for themselves. They're independent thinkers. That's why the capitalists were the pigs. Well, as time went on and they started spinning what capitalism means and trying to fake people on what it actually is, people started calling people capitalist pigs as like a middle finger, kind of a derogatory term. So the first time someone ever called me that 7 or 8 years ago, I was like, I don't think you know what you're saying. Yeah, I am a capitalist pig. I'm going to put it on my chest in a big red thing. And now we got all the, intellectual property and all that stuff on it. But it's, anyway.
Well, and you've had thousands and thousands of people that have bought this shirt and are owning the phrase, get rich, give back. And I was also expecting you to say that the mission is to improve the economic and spiritual well-being of mankind.
And that's what it is. Yep. Improve the economic and spiritual well-being of mankind. It's written in our mission statement.
Yeah. All of the companies that we work in.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm glad we did this. This was kind of not on purpose, but just kind of fell out,
It was fantastic. Because even when we talked about this topic before, you were like, well, let me maybe get an expert to also volley with. But I think you on your own was fantastic.
Most people are capitalists. They just misunderstand what it is. The thing that I think is missing in society right now in terms of capitalism is that I actually wrote this in the Capitalist Code of Ethics or pledge. Should I pull it up?
Yeah. So whenever someone gets a shirt from WeThePigs.com, which plug, I think we've said it many times, but there is this
insert that comes. And I spent so long on it, a lot of research to figure out, how do you know if you're a capitalist? That was really the question that was fueling all this. How do you know you're actually a capitalist? And the way that you know you're a capitalist is the things we've been talking about right now. Really, at the heart, it means problem solver. Someone who wants ownership and they solve problems. And capitalism is beautiful because if you want to get paid more, you just solve better problems. I was explaining this to their girls while ago. We were at the grocery store, and Actually, remember, we were all together, and this guy was bagging groceries at the end of the line, and we got in the car, and I said, hey, that guy putting the bags, or the groceries in the bag, that's nice of him, right? And they're like, yeah, that was super nice. That was awesome. I was like, it's a problem that he's solving for us, right? And they're like, yeah. And I go, think about the person who solved the problem of how to get from one place to another in a car. Would you say that they're the same kind of problem, though? Like, is one problem bigger than the other? And they were immediately, I mean, they're little kids. They're like, oh, yeah, well, driving a car is the much harder problem to solve than putting groceries in a bag. And I'm not here to like slam anyone. It's just, this is the reality. This is what I think people have a hard time with the capitalism is they go, well, because I put bags in the grocery, or sorry, I put groceries in the bag. And because and this person over here is going, well, because I solved the problem of how to drive a car, we need to get paid the same. And capitalism is like, no, problems are not created equally, and not all problems are worth solving. And so what we have to get good at as a capitalist society is to recognize that just because there is a problem doesn't mean we need to pursue its solution, right? We're not the end users of seeing what the value is. And so I started doing all this research. This little pledge comes as a card in each one of the every piece of swag that goes out at We the Pigs. And it says, so when you take the pledge, you're agreeing to terms, right? There's certain terms that you have to agree to wear the swag. And so this is part of it, like, it's not some just like tongue-in-cheek thing. I'm dead serious. I'm a capitalist pig through and through. We'll die on this hill, right? I think it's the hill I'm supposed to go climb also. So it says, as a capitalist, you pledge to, number one, there's 5 rules. Rule number 1 is that you follow the law of self-interest. I made this one right out of the gate because people have a hard time with this one, right? They're like, wait, self-interest is a virtue? Right? Anne Rind has a whole book on this called The Virtue of Selfishness. And it's like, it gets taken out of context, right? Where we start acting like we shouldn't be self-interested, but actually self-interest raises the tide. It actually makes all ships go up because you're acting in self-interest, I'm acting in self-interest, they're acting in self-interest. And because of that, we're all trying to solve problems and solutions and back and forth. And now all ships rise. But when we don't do that and we all start acting like our problems are not problems, we start lying about what value is, right? So number 1, we follow the law of self-interest, which means that we fulfill the needs of others in exchange for personal gain. So we're still all about personal gain as capitalists, absolutely. But we do it while in the pursuit of solving the needs of others, which is really, really cool. So it's a blending of the two. And I say that, and a lot of socialists are like, well, that's socialism. I was like, no, it's not. That's capitalism. You're not understanding what those are. So number 2, I love this one. To be a capitalist, you pledge that you will champion innovation. We are innovative thinkers. To sit back and say, I can't because I had a terrible living situation when I was raised. Or I can't. I'm unqualified from going down my dreams or figuring out what I want because of my family history or something that happened to me, or I got this trauma. Cool. Work on your trauma. Who doesn't have it, right? Take the time you need to, but understand that a capitalist champions innovation. They're very innovative. They're coming up with really, really cool innovation pieces. So the subbar there is that competition and creativity are the fuel to valuable solutions. Okay, competition and creativity. I get a lot of people, again, I'm not trying to go left versus right on this. It's just a lot of left people think that they're not capitalists. I'm like, you absolutely are. You just don't know it. Right? They're like, well, I'm creative, and so I'm not a capitalist. I'm like, that's like one of the primary fuels of capitalism is creativity. Steve Jobs going, I want all my songs on this little cube. Get on it, right? Now CD players aren't a thing, right? Number 3, we uphold ethical responsibility. There's absolutely a code of ethics we have to uphold as capitalists, okay? And this is the part where people will misuse capitalism, is that empathy and virtue are what guide moral behavior of the individual rather than a government. So if you have to have a government constantly coming in and spot checking your use of capitalism, you are misusing capitalism. It's not up to the government to tell me what my ethical and moral behavior should be with this power called capitalism. And when we as a society start jacking that up, that's when the next generation starts saying things like capitalism's evil. It's just for people who just like screw other people. And it's like, well, that happens. especially when people are starting to use only law as the guide of moral behavior. And that's not what it is. I wrote that empathy and virtue guide moral behavior of the individual. It's not up to a government. Number 4 is that we actually use capitalism in a way that we support sustainable growth. We can grow too quickly. Right? So we need to use these resources that we have with prudence. Number 5 is that we maintain our wealth. Don't be an idiot when you get rich. Right? Use it right. People are idiots when they make a lot of money. Money solves all my problems. No, it doesn't. And if you really don't know how to handle being rich, you're just going to have probably more problems. I hate the phrase more money, more problems. It's a dumb false belief that keeps people poor. It's not more money, more problems. It's a moronic thing to believe. It's more money, different problems.
Yeah.
Right? And of course, who doesn't want to graduate? You know what I mean? I don't wear diapers anymore because I didn't like it when I was 1. You know what I mean? We're just that way. And people they get out of high school or they get out of school or whatever it is, and they just stop growing. They just stop, right? They just enter this routine, 9 to 5. They don't do anything else with their lives. And it's like, of course you're going to hate capitalism because capitalism is about growth. And that doesn't mean erratic growth. It's sustain. That's why number 5 is what it is that we want sustainability with our resources. We want sustainability in the way we maintain our wealth and choose to actively get rich and choose to actively give back. If somebody has to invite you to give back, you're starting to slip, right? Think about if we had mandated ways to give back. That's no longer charity. That robs the giver as much as from the soul as it does their actual wallet.
May as well be taxes.
It is. That's exactly what it is, right? And it's like, so it's people are like, well, I believe in helping people. I'm like, cool, make a ton of money. It's gonna be way easier, right? It's a lot faster for you too, right? Anyway, so that's what it is. That's the pledge. And then at the end, if they agree to it, they wear whatever swag they bought from the store. They take a picture and post it, because I think that's just the best thing you can do right now is just share the fact that capitalism isn't evil. Let's all defog what this beautiful gift is and what the freaking country was invented to do, right? And realize that the lack of self-ownership, the lack of being able to grow, and the lack of choosing to grow, literally choosing stagnation is the opposite of capitalism solely.